Alright, and we're back. So I just got done talking about Scream 1996, one of my favorite horror movies of all time, and now it's time to talk about its sequel, Scream 2, released in 1997. Now, I will say right off the bat, with a franchise that contains many films that you love, unfortunately, this is an entry that in my ranking would place below, towards the bottom. And it's not because it's a bad movie, no. Like, I love this movie, but with a lot of films that you love, sometimes the love for those other films overpower this one. If that makes sense. But, yeah, once I get to my ranking, I'll explain it a lot more. And hopefully you guys will understand before commenting death threats and calling me a fake fan. But, yeah. Scream 2, released in 1997. A solid follow-up to Scream. This one takes place on a campus, a college campus, and it follows Sydney still getting over the trauma that happened a year prior. This one ups the stakes a lot. It takes some big risks, some that probably divided fans, and that's a certain character's death. And honestly, it ups the gore, ups the body count. Pretty much everything that Randy says a sequel should do, this movie does. It introduces some new casting characters, such as Sarah Michelle Gellar. You got Jerry O'Connell, and then you got Jada Pinkett Smith in the beginning, which lands her on the spot of the DVD cover that I have. Not gonna lie, when I watched Scary Movie for the first time, I thought that theater scene was completely original until I watched Scream 2. And I'm not gonna lie, I still prefer the Scary Movie version better than Scream 2. It's just funny, and it just gets me every time I watch it. But yeah, honestly, this opening's still fucking cool, and honestly, I really just, when I was younger, I just dreamed of owning one of those fucking stab costume souvenirs that they handed out with the glow-in-the-dark knife, all that shit. Literally, that would be the fucking coolest thing ever to go to. Like, just imagine for Scream 6, like, you go opening day, they hand you a fucking costume, everybody in that fucking theater is just pumped. That's honestly, like, I feel how, like, screenings of The Room by Tommy Wiseau go now. Whenever they have a public screening, people are all just yelling, fucking cheering, reciting the lines and stuff. Dude, that would be so fucking sick. But yeah, this movie introduces the whole stab, like, movie within a movie. It introduces that whole, like, subplot. And from this point on, as the sequels go up, so will the stab movies. And by the time we get to 5, they're on stab 8, or just stab. But, yeah, this movie starts out with the theater scene. Obviously, you know, Jada Pinkett Smith's boyfriend gets stabbed through the bathroom stall door, and she gets fucked up in the theater in front of everybody. That's what I mean by my prediction video for Scream 6, or the things that I want. Have a situation like that where you're just getting mauled in public, and nobody, like, really bats an eye. Like, I really hope they do that. But regardless, the scene's iconic. It ends with a scream on top of the stage, and then she dies, and then title card. Then you move forward a year, present day at that time with Sydney. You know, she's a lot more prepared. She has caller ID now, which is like a separate device. It just shows, like, the era that this movie was made in. Yeah. You know, she's suffering from some PTSD. She has a new boyfriend, Derek, who she just has a hard time, like, kind of falling in love, and then there's a situation where Ghostface attacks in the house, and she kind of sees like flashbacks of Billy, pretty much. Like she's like feels like she's reliving that whole situation when she sees Derek with a slashed arm. Also with Derek, it includes a scene that also divided some fans. The whole I think I love you scene in the cafeteria. Me personally, I don't like it. I think it's but some people do love it, and that's not a knock to them. Like what you like. Yeah, this movie also has the balls to kill off Randy in a really great sequence, honestly. So the killer calls, and Gail and Dewey are trying to figure out if the killer's on the campus. So they're like going around checking every student's phone, trying to see like who they're calling, while Randy stays on the line trying to like, bait him. And then he ends up bumping into the news van and gets fucked up. And then, like, honestly, the song just stuck with me. Suburban Life. These dudes are like just dancing, blasting out on their ghetto blaster, while Randy's just getting fucked up. And when they reveal his death, that's like that's the image that I see when I think of Scream 2. And this movie also continues the trend of Dewey not dying, because I forgot to mention in my review of Scream, Dewey gets stabbed, and in this one he gets stabbed again and still manages to survive. So unfortunately, for a little bit, you literally couldn't kill David Arquette. But there's some great fucking chase sequences in this movie. My favorite being, what leads up to Dewey getting stabbed, when when Gail's being chased through that sound studio. It's just fucking intense. And honestly, like, I've seen the movie like probably 1,000 times at this point, and that still like sends chills down my spine. Like when she's hiding behind like the soundproofing, and Ghostface is just lurking through the corners, like that shit still gets me. Yeah. Then you have other characters too, like Sydney's new best friend. I honestly forgot her name, but she's a cool character. Then you got Mickey, who, spoiler alert, is the killer alongside Mrs. Loomis, Billy's mother. Which, honestly, I never really cared for Mickey all too much, because there's a point in the movie where he kind of just vanishes and you don't see him until he reveals himself. And you're left to wonder, like, well, where the fuck were you? Like, you just vanish, and you didn't even, like, try to cover your own ass by, like, popping in every once in a while. So his absence was, like, kind of, I don't know, kind of a downside to this movie. Like, he was gone enough to the point where I was like, oh yeah, that's a castmate. While, like, Mrs. Loomis was shown throughout the movie quite a bit, even, like, while all the shit was going down. But yeah, this movie also brings back Cotton Weary, who, after being freed, he wants his 15 minutes of fame with, like, Martha Stewart, or Diane Sawyer. I think Diane Sawyer. And, he needs Sydney to, like, do an interview with him, too. Have the victim and the falsely accused in the same room together, which at the end ends up happening. And what you'll see in Scream 3 is it worked out for him up to a point. But yeah, this movie's great. I would probably give it a 8 out of 10. It's I don't think there's any bad Scream film besides 3. So yeah, just like making a point to like put one over the others. This one would unfortunately like fall behind. And yeah, I know it's going to piss a lot of you guys off, but please forgive me. So yeah, there's some gnarly ass kills in this one. My personal favorite being when the two security guards are driving Sydney and her friend, and then one of them just gets fucked up, and the other one gets hit by the car, and he's just hanging onto the hood, and then that metal pole just goes through his face. Fuck yeah, that's the gory shit I like to see. And another one that obviously stands out is Randy's death, because that shit was brutal, especially for a character that everybody loved. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say.